Ready.
Set.
Go.
Good
Contact.
afternoon, profitable stylist. I am Eddie Ohanian with breaking news.
I was
We have
wondering
a
what.
300% increase in pre-booking for the holiday season in the salons. So if you are a client watching this, please make sure you make your appointment now. If you are a stylist watching this, make sure you have your books prepared. In other news,
Oh my God.
Man, I hated it when I came home from school and my dad had the new. I think we came home first, and then he'd come home and he'd put the news on, and it'd be some tone. You're like, darn, 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 breaking news. I was like, oh God, the most boring thing in the world.
right. Now let me get through this. In other
When you
news, we have
other
the
news,
FDA
and more
proposing
news
a
and other
ban.
news, breaking news, very important
And
news.
with us in studio today is Bernard Ori, our co-host anchor, and in the field we have John Salvador.
So I said this on Facebook. I want to say it real quick for those of you that maybe can't read my handwriting. John, could you just read that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
We on the Profitable Stylist Academy, we have some classes. John, you need to teach a class on the academy. Eddie's got one, I got one, Brittany's got one, Ali's got one. I think that's everybody. Oh, there's a little bit of Sasha on there
Shannon.
too. And Shanna, that's right. And so Brittany just launched a hair replacement class. It's a $800, well, $797 class. And till today, this is the last day. We launched it a couple of weeks ago, and we're giving $300 off. And today would be the last day that you could get it for $300 off if you sign up for that. But just for fun, we did make everything on the Academy, all of our classes, 10% off also, just to get people to go over there and see everything. And if you decide to get everything, that would be a great idea also. But today, we're going to talk about formaldehyde. And I'm starting the talking because I got a feeling I'm not going to say much more after This is not a subject I know much about. I just know that I don't like the smell of it, and it's becoming illegal soon, or they're trying to make it illegal April of next year. And I think from everything I got from what Eddie said on Facebook is they're trying to make it where we just microdose it instead. Is that
Agreed.
right?
Yeah.
Coin
Good
that,
memory.
micro dose. I like that.
Microdosing. Well, that's a big thing. Joe Rogan talks about microdosing. Some people talk about that possibly being benefits. Some of the harsh drugs that really ruin people's lives are like, oh, maybe if we just do a little bit, it'll just open our brain just enough that we can think more clearly or be more creative or whatever. Not for me, but I love the term microdose.
Didn't they used
I just
to
wonder.
do that with LSD back in the 60s or something to like
I don't know if you can
open your
microdose it
mind?
because it's already such a little dose. How do you get it smaller? So formaldehyde coming out of all the products, I thought they pulled formaldehyde out of the products like years ago. I remember when oh God, what's the name of that brand that straightens hair that I mentioned on Facebook? I can't remember.
We shouldn't call out. Or maybe we
No, I'm
should.
not
I
saying
don't know.
anything negative. Brazilian blowout. It's still
Brazilian, yeah.
I mean, so many. I never used it. I can't say good or bad about it. I just know that Brazilian Blowout's a huge company, sold a lot of product. People love that product. And I thought a few years ago, I heard the rumor they were getting rid of formaldehyde. So, Brazilian Blowout was going to be going out of business. They never did. People were having to put vents and fans in their, if you want to still use this product, you'd have to put a vent above your station in the salon. And I was teaching extensions across the country. So I would see the salons that were installing these vent hoods like they're a commercial kitchen, and inventing the product. And that was even after they took formaldehyde out the product, supposedly, from what I understood. But I never really dove deep into it. So tell me what actually happened. Did they not take it out?
I'll give you the history, and then John will give you how the salons responded to it.
Okay.
And is there a statute of limitations? Well, what's for smuggling?
What? Are you gonna?
I don't
just
know
say
if I'm
yourself.
about to incriminate myself or not right now, but so what happened was, okay, In the early 2000s, there was
When it
the
was
Japanese.
gonna be taken off the market, Eddie bought $10,000 worth and still has some in his
Exactly.
closet.
Exactly.
Right. So call
No.
me for distribution or something.
In
Right?
his
I don't know.
garage.
In his garage.
Come to me for the good stuff.
There was the Japanese permanent straightening systems, and that really took the industry by storm. Everybody wanted pin straight hair. You mentioned about Cher and Madonna a couple weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago. You had mentioned about that.
They were kind of the first on the scene to have that real straight hair.
Real straight
and it
hair.
was, they're trendsetters, so it like freaked everybody out. Like, oh my God, they're so flat. How do we get it that flat? What's this flat iron? Because our flat irons were so big, and then we had to make them smaller and smaller to get smaller sections. It was just a fun twist of the industry.
Yeah, it was cool, and that was the whole thing. So then the Japanese permanent straightening system comes on the scene, and it's like, holy cow, you can permanently straighten your hair, get rid of all your curls, and it's like, oh yeah, baby, So now you had perms on one side if you wanted curly hair, you had Japanese permanent straightening if you didn't want a curly hair, and if you were stuck in the middle, that means you were just waiting for your appointment.
Now let's give a tiny bit of. So I know a tiny bit about this service, but not so much about the chemicals. At the time, the things we had was what was predominantly done on black girls' hair was a relaxer, and then you had
relaxers, yeah,
which was a different chemical than a perm that would curl your hair. And then depending on what culture you were in, if you were in the black market, you called a straightener a perm. They would get their hair perm, but it really meant straighten. So getting the lingo, I always loved the lingo. It's like, depends on who you're talking to. A curl could mean straight, it could mean curly. And so I just remember being in a friend of mine's predominantly black salon, and there was some hair in the bucket of relaxer. She was coming out of the bucket, putting on a lady's hair, and I said, what about the hair that's getting in that bucket? Is that like sanitary? And she goes, oh, honey, that hair will be gone by tomorrow. And that's when I was like, wow, this is a harsh chemical. That might be the next chemical they start to ban is relaxers. But a perm, although still slightly damaging, especially if used incorrectly, wasn't quite as rough because I started experimenting with all of this. You got guys with hair like mine, but it's a little curly. I remember Sasha saying he was the first one to straighten Justin Timberlake's hair, on set at a movie, and he painted a little relaxer on there and it's straight. And a guy with short hair, no big deal if there's a little damage.
Sure, right.
But if you got long hair and you start damaging it, that's when it shows, And so I was toying with some relaxers, burned a few people's skin around the edges because I didn't protect it right, left it a little too long, started learning there were mild, medium, and more aggressive relaxers. Didn't really understand what chemicals were in there. I was just trying all kind of things. I was doing hair replacement. You get a hair system then. It was a little too wavy and the guy had real straight hair. I would just squirt perm solution on there, comb it through there. So you started realizing with a perm, you could straighten or curl hair. With a relaxer, you're just straightening hair, depending on how long you leave it on. Because of the blisters on a couple of clients, I noticed that the relaxer cream was much more aggressive than the liquid from a perm solution. I didn't know how much more aggressive. I just knew it was more aggressive. And so just from experience, I learned there was something going. Oh, and something we learned from experience also is if you relaxed hair with the white creamy relaxer, whatever that product is, maybe Thio, that you could not come back and perm it curly. It was permanently straight. And if you were a black girl that wanted, or a boy, because Michael Jackson was real popular right then, and he had the Jerry curl, and so it's like if you want to curl your hair, but not an afro, you had to use something to relax the hair temporarily while you rolled it up in rollers to get the kink.
That was the reverse perm. But John, fact check me. Is it the lie you can't perm over, and that's why Thio got popular because you can perm over a Thio?
Yes, you can. There's actually two: the lie and a sodium relaxer. You can't perm over because it is so aggressive.
So which one can you perm over? Thio?
That's how relaxers. Thio. Okay. But you also have to, once again, I have to be the ultimate stylist. Is all that depends upon your initial consultation. I have to throw that in there. But the thing to remember is that all of this relaxing and stuff actually came from 100 years ago when they used to take the true lye tallow that they would make soap with and things like that. Kids used to hate taking a bath back in the turn of the century because the soap was lye. It was very aggressive on the skin, and they
Oh,
found out
wow.
that lye soap actually relaxes the hair, would relax their hair. That's where it came from.
See, there's a
Wow.
But
benefit to having a grandpa in the chat with us, Bernard. Now we have
yeah.
he remembers when they used to spin the
Oh,
wheel with the stick.
so says the prince.
So do you know we had a clogged drain in the salon recently, and I went to the hardware just to buy maybe some Drano or something, and I
Right?
the top shelf commercial professional lye, and I was
Yep.
like, oh, I know lye eats up some hair, and so
Yeah.
it's just white. It's just I don't know if it's white. It was a white bottle, but it was a powder or granule, and I gave it to my salon
Yeah.
coordinator. I said it was like 2 tablespoons. You just put in there and run the water a little. She goes, "That's the best stuff I've." Now we might not have pipes in the walls anymore either,
Right.
but
But you don't have a clog.
no, we don't have a clog. I could not believe it. 2 tablespoons.
So yeah, so that's the difference between the original relaxers and the perms, and that's what gave, and then there's always this effort to try to push, for more, for better. That's progress. You take what you got, and then you see how far you can push it to create something new, hopefully something better. Sometimes it gets worse, but that's how we got to the Japanese permanent straightening. We went from being able to relax to
Right.
permanently being able to freeze that in place. Well,
Right.
unfortunately, the Japanese permanent straightening, uh, what do you say? Like the application process was very misunderstood. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, it went away because people were doing it incorrectly. It got a bad rap. And unfortunately, that service got killed.
So
So
did it heavily involved a flat iron on damp hair with the product on it, right?
it's
Because I
similar
never did do it.
to modern day smoothing treatments now. You would put
Okay.
product on, you would process it, and then you would blow dry it in, and then you would flat iron it in to compact that product into the cuticle, and then you would try to push it beyond the cuticle to get to the disulfide bond of the hair to freeze the disulfide bond in place after you flat ironed it straight. It would
Mm.
freeze that straightness into the disulfide bond.
And
So then
was
that's how
there
your hair was straight.
formaldehyde in this product?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Now you couldn't, similar to the lye, you could not overlap, and that's the
Mm.
problem. People were overlapping, and it was snapping hair.
When it grew out and they were trying to do their
When it grew
retouches,
out and
the
trying to do the
overlapping
retouches.
was doing
So
some chemical trimming,
during that time, and this is another history lesson before
Texturizing.
9/11, texturizing, yeah. Before 9/11, the security checks in airports weren't that strong. They were very laxed.
right?
So we would have flight attendants. That's what you call them nowadays, right? Stewardesses,
Yes.
flight attendants.
No, not stewardess.
Flight
No.
attendants. Okay.
They're not all
No.
girls.
Okay. I don't know, man. I don't know. Flight attendants.
Flight attendant, that's correct.
I can't keep up. They would be bringing in product from Brazil, from South America. And we were like, well, what is this stuff? She's like, I don't know. But when I was on leave in between flights, I went to a salon in there. They did this treatment on me. My hair's never been like this before. I'm going to bring you a jar of this stuff next time I fly out there. And I want you to keep doing it on me. I'm like, all right,
Okay.
fine. Talk to your stylist over there. Have him translate the instructions and let's do it, right?
Yep.
And that's how the Brazilian keratin smoothing treatment originally got popularized.
Was through you?
No, not through
Yeah.
me.
Through Eddie.
Yeah. Through my little salon, and was flight attendants smuggling in this product, and I guess it wasn't considered
Bringing.
smuggling back then.
Bringing in.
All right, yeah, sure, bring it. All
Yes,
right.
smuggling is frowned upon.
So I understand all the language in our industry, but when it comes outside of our industry to normal life, I cannot keep up with any language whatsoever. So don't listen. Only listen to me when I'm talking about hair related language.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So, but that's how the keratin smoothing treatments got popularized. Now, here was the problem. Back then, you had 6%, 9%, 13% strength formulas. And that's where, after it got
13% formaldehyde.
percent,
Yeah.
yeah. And this is where, at the height of its popularity, this is where people were getting the respiratory issues, the nosebleeds, the headaches, the migraines. Unfortunately, in the West Coast, or I think it was in Canada, or it was in Oregon or Washington, something like that, somebody died. They had pre-existing health condition, and this aggravated it so bad that they died from receiving this
Thank
service.
God I got busy doing hair extensions. I'd have
It's
been right
insane,
on. I'd have been right on that trend.
right? So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then this is when, then the government comes in and the FDA comes in and they start observing things and figuring out what's going on. Well, what they deemed was if you have less than 4%, 4%, that's considered safe enough. You shouldn't be over 4%.
So you could live through an ER visit at 3-4%.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where
You have two lungs.
Yeah, you got to right. One of them does the work, the other one's a backup.
As long as you just breathe it through the one lung. I got to give that one a break, so I'm going to do this.
This is why we have a good side and a bad side,
You have a spare. You have a spare. It's good.
Two lungs. Oh my God.
But that's the difference, and this is where you were talking about. You would have the gas mask and the respirators and the ventilations and the things like that. So talk to that a little bit, John.
Well, what we did is when all this broke loose, we were in the dark. No one really came to us. Not one of our manufacturers came to us and said, "Hey, this is going on." It was kind of like, this is going to go away. So what we did is we knew, and our clients are that's really a word, are so informed that we actually went and we put in new ventilation. If you were doing a keratin service, you did it in an open area. Any one of those services, it was in an open, well ventilated area. They're actually made. We had a couple of them. They're like these portable. It was like a hooded dryer, but it had this long tube with this cone on it, and you would put it above while you were working, and it would.
But it was sucking air up, right?
Yeah. And good thing because with my hair, it always messed my hairdo up.
Yeah.
But that's what we did, and until there was a change in the true formulation of the products, and the companies came. And the coolest part about what we do is 99% of the companies are on the ball. And eventually they get, when they get around to it and they get us informed and they look out, and most of them do look out for us as operators, as business owners. But with that being said, then all of a sudden you watch these hoods slowly just fade off to one wall,
Yeah.
But, and then because of the industry that we're in, and we love to push the envelope, we had to keep reminding a lot of our stylists, make sure you're staying in an open area, because, you can't go hide back in your little tomb that you like to do hair in. You've actually got to come out into the sunshine. Look at Eddie flinch because he's part vampire. But and really, I think that the whole gist of all this is as professionals, I think we have to be really aware of what we're actually using and what we're actually doing, because I think that we are more at risk than the client is. That stuff's on their head. Your skin's only going to absorb so much. We're standing above it, right? Breathing it in, like we talked about earlier. 450-degree iron. Heat plus pressure, you make that gas. Who's breathing most of that gas in is us. you
Oh,
know?
and we're doing it multiple times a
Right,
day.
and that's the other thing is you know, you got 3 or 4 keratin treatments in a day, or what, you know, whatever, resurfacing treatments, whatever. Um, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, I remember on days back in the days when we were doing double processes, um, you know, doing 3 or 4 or 5 double processes a day, standing above that bleach. By the end of the day, you were kind of like, you know. So, but salons, fortunately, anybody that I know and the salon environment that I was in and that I'm in now, everybody's really very conscious about this now. So I just think this is a great heads up. And the cool part is, just to add a caveat to me rambling on like this, is, you know, being associated with a distributorship, there is and there is some really cool stuff that is coming out that really looks out for the health of the operator and the client. And that's all I can really talk about because nothing's been said, but
It's
just be prepared.
one of the benefits of being in charge at HTB Beauty, the name of our distributorship, is that the products that I represent, and the products that we have are really handpicked by me. The what is it called? The metric or like the contingency, the bar that I use to decide whether or not we should carry this product is how healthy is it, or how much healthier is it comparing to the other products, the other competitor brands in its category. So with the all nutrient hair color, it's certified organic based. It's half the ammonia, double the dilute. It's way healthier comparing to other color lines, right? Kerotherapy has a very low percentage of formaldehyde in some of its treatments. It has other treatments that are completely formaldehyde free. So those, so the formaldehyde free formulas are no brainers, but even the kerotherapy treatments that have formaldehyde in it, they're so low that it cycles into the atmosphere very quickly. It's literally at a 0.02% in the parts per million measurements
Oh,
that I was
wow.
talking about earlier. So it's
Yeah.
never going to raise you up above that 0.08 where you're under the influence, where you start getting to that level of headache and nausea,
Nausea.
nausea. Thank you.
Nauseous, nauseated.
Nauseous, yeah. So these are the kind of things that I look at. The Xenogen is nutraceutical based. The hair extensions are the ultimate organic. The She hair extensions and the On-Stage hair extensions. It doesn't get any more organic than that. There's nothing in it. It's pure hair, pure keratin, and aluminum beads. They're not even metal, so they won't erode. So like these are, and now, that's the ergo. Oh, and I forgot about the ergo brushes and tools that we have. Literally, it's ergonomic for your wrist, to save your body.
Ergonomic.
Ergonomic.
You're so close. I wasn't going to correct him.
I try, man. I really try. Like I said, only listen to me in class when I'm talking about hair stuff. Don't listen to me when I'm
You could
talking about
trademark
like
that. You could trademark that word you said because it's new.
ergonomic.
Yeah.
Ergonomic. Yeah. So
Ergonomic.
that's the whole thing. I'm always looking for, like, I'm always the ultimate student, right? I'm always on this quest for knowledge and to see
Right.
what can be better. How can we make things better? It's why my classes and John's classes too, when we teach classes, we only ever repeat the same program twice. A lot of the people who come to our programs, our educational classes, are repeat stylists who have been to a prior class, and they say they always get something new every single time they come.
Because we're always learning also.
We're always
Right.
learning also. So you got to update the information. You can't just keep following the same format over and over and over. I can't, for my own sanity's sake, forget about the other person coming in,
Yeah. Right.
So that this is the whole thing. So when it comes to new technology, when you have, okay, so if you don't have formaldehyde as the option, what is your option?
Do you think it's going to be completely gone in April of next year?
I personally don't.
What's it going to affect most in our
I
industry?
I personally don't think it's going to go away in April. I think it's too
Me
soon.
neither. Yeah.
But if
They
it
might have to
does,
stop. They might have to stop making product, but I bet you they can still sell old inventory or something like that, and that's just my guess, and
I
that'll
think
last.
if the ban, okay, so if this is all speculation now, if the ban goes into effect in April, that proposal becomes law, then in the net by 2026, like in 2 years, they'll give a lead time to start
Hmm.
switching everything over. They'll give like a drop dead date where
Hmm.
that's it. Now it's law. You have until here to get your
Imply.
crap together and apply it. Yeah, right. So that's best case or worst case scenario, however you want to refer
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it
yeah.
as.
It's a guess.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a guess. Now here it paves, but I don't think it's going to happen. I kind of part of me hope it does happen because then we get new technology. And new technology is fun and new technology is exciting and it pushes us into the unknown. And we're going to start messing up people's hair and we're going to have to start figuring out a new way of doing hair.
And he
And
smiles while he's saying that.
Did you see that? You saw that, right?
you guys don't understand. Like,
Oh, I do. I love
how,
new. I love new
right?
too.
So, like, how
Yeah.
many scalps did you burn when you were doing double process bleach blondes? How
Oh,
many perms, pocket curls? Where would we ever gotten pocket curls from if you didn't kill people's hair in the rods with the perm rods?
right.
Like where would all this
I
liquid
have to try to remember
chemical
that.
haircuts?
As a teacher, I have to try to remember that. Like my son ruined a hair system a couple in a week or two period, and he was really devastated. And I was like, "Do you know how many I cut too short? It's
Right?
okay.
I mean,
Right?
thousands,
Okay."
Right?
tens of thousands of dollars that we have lost in our careers in making mistakes and losing clients.
Learning.
Learning. Look, I would not be the colorist that I am today if it wasn't for my first paying client in the salon, April. I tell the story of April all the time, and I remember she was my first paying client. I was doing color on stage for shows, for photo shoots, for sets, and I was banging them out left and right, no problem. My first paying client in the salon, I utterly destroyed April's hair. This poor woman, I think about her all the time. Like, I want to get a private investigator to look her up one day just to apologize to her and thank her because it really like focused everything down where I will never do another April mistake again.
Right.
Right.
And it's insane. It's insane.
I
So
think most I think most educators don't talk about the learning experiences enough. You know, one of my hobbies is beekeeping, and so I always joke about that because these guys always say, "Don't do this with your beehives. Don't do that." Don't, they're always telling you the don't do's, or if you do this, this will happen. And I always look at my friend, I'm like, you know how they know that, right?
Right.
you get
Right?
stung a bunch of times.
So I was in a local meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the guy said, "Well, one thing you don't want to do this time of year is blah blah blah." And I said, "And how do you know that?" He just started laughing. He's like, "Nobody ever calls me out like that." Right, because go ahead and tell the sad story, how you became an expert. You messed up a bunch. That's how it happens. So you don't think formaldehyde is going to be completely out in April, huh? That news thing
No.
that you read is just saying they're trying.
My confusion is this.
Did you read it, John?
Yeah, I read it. Actually, Eddie and I found it together.
Okay.
Um,
Give us your
I
take on it then.
Well, my take on it is I think that they're going to come to some happy medium with this, and it'll be decreased or whatever. Because you can't tell me that the massive companies that make our products aren't already on this already and figured
Right.
this out and have something loaded in the chamber ready to go if it does happen. Plus, as we well know, with our government, the FDA, and not to get into a rant, but
We
they're
don't
they're
know
they're
him, by the way. Whatever he's about to say, I am not associated to John Salvador in any way.
But the fact is they're with our government and the way things go and chemical companies, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some happy medium. I don't think it's going away. I defer back to when ammonia was bad and everybody was coming out with their ammonia free colors. They traded ammonia for most of it was MEA, which Eddie pronounce that. What's MEA, Eddie?
Mia.
But I God, I sound like Eddie. Anyway, and they replaced it with that.
Monoethylenonamine.
There we go. Yeah,
And
that.
and I don't even know. I'm assuming that was worse than ammonia.
Way worse. Way worse.
Where it's so bad. You ever see the Coca-Cola commercials where it could take the rust off the bumper?
They don't
Just
put
like
that
that.
in the Coke commercial. That's
Where did I
Coke
see that?
On YouTube.
Yeah,
Oh, the
another.
YouTubes. The YouTubes. Right.
The
Go ahead,
YouTube.
John. Go ahead, John.
But anyway, they replaced it, and then what they found is with repeated run-throughs of MEA, you're damaging the hair, and all of a sudden, ammonia became okay again. I think we're in the same boat, you know. And what was it? Was it FD Blue or whatever? Remember when that was causing cancer because they were injecting it into rats, and the rats were getting tumors, so they were going to take that
red.
out.
I thought it was the red.
Red. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. You're correct.
It was red.
Red.
Barbara Walters would come up with a 60-minute report every couple of years. Does red hair color cause cancer? Are you gonna die?
Yeah.
I just remember red cream soda was my favorite soft drink, and now it's clear.
Yeah. Yeah. but yeah, we went through that in the early 90s where this was causing cancer because they were injecting it directly into rats and they were getting tumors. And you inject anything into a rat, it's going to get a tumor. And then all of a sudden the FDA had to do that full retraction, going, oh well, the study was skewed.
They put too much in the rat.
Yeah. So once again, as I think that this is, I'm not a doubting Thomas. I'm not going to be the pessimist about it, but I think that they will find some happy medium with this because all the companies that are actually creating these products, they have some weight behind them, and I think that there'll be some.
Yeah.
I can't use the.
Unfortunately, you're right. Some money's going to change hands, and
exactly. But my point still is, and I'll keep saying this is, as stylists, as operators, whatever we want to define ourselves as, we need to be educated and know exactly what we're using. Because not only are we putting that on someone else, we're standing there and we're breathing this stuff too.
Right.
And we should be informed. And because, I mean, I don't, my body's falling apart anyway after 35 years of doing this job.
Right.
I don't need the outside's going. I don't need the inside to go too. No,
I agree. I think some common sense along the way, and minimal, some small fans moving the air around, but just because of any of the things we're breathing over and over again through the day needs to be dissipated a little more quickly than being right over somebody's head.
Right. In my little cave that I operate in here, I have 3 fans, just to get things moving around because you get a bunch of color going at the same time. You got to move that air and get it. I agree. I agree with you 100%. Eddie, what do you think?
It's the fumes. You got to understand how product. To your point, you got to understand how and why product works the way it does. Science is fun, but science is dumb. It doesn't know what you want. It knows what it's supposed to do. If you apply the product properly, meaning you do not oversaturate, if you blow dry it 100%, you don't leave the hair slightly damp. If you put the flat iron at the proper temperature, you don't just blast it to maximum temperature.
450. It goes to 450 for a reason.
450 for a reason. That's for very thick, coarse, tight, resistant hair, very extremely dense hair. That doesn't mean you should do that for every single person. Not everybody has that type of the hair. So, just pushing it to max, and now you're just sitting there and you're just cooking the crap out that hair, and it looks like a nightclub
fajita dish.
Yeah, like a fajita dish going off. right? That sizzle is the hair telling you knock it off. That sizzle is not telling you, it's hot, hot, hot. So, you got to back it off. And when you're seeing milky smoke coming off the head, bless
Dance.
America. Yeah, get away. That's
Dance
way
party.
too much product on there. If you're hitting it and there's some vapors coming off, it's like a pot of boiling water. You see the steam, you see the vapor come off, and then it immediately dissipates. You have put enough, you have saturated it enough. But if you're seeing, heavy smoke and milky clouds coming off the head, you have oversaturated way too much product on that head, on that hair. So it's understanding, how much to use and when to use it and how to use it. That's the issue. When doing it in the safe, right way, it works and it's beautiful and it's fun and it's necessary for some people. For other people, maybe they don't care as much. So then what are the alternatives? That's what you're left with. The alternatives to formaldehyde, it's got to be twofold, because there are some companies out there that say they have special formaldehyde, and it's a load of BS.
Is it?
Okay. Yes.
It's like it's like the encapsulated ammonia when they were doing that.
Encapsulated ammonia is safer than regular ammonia.
It's safer than regular ammonia.
That's funny.
Once it's
I
on
didn't.
the head and it vaporizes and it turns to fume, who cares what it was when it was applied? It's the oxidation process afterwards. It's the aftermath that counts, that matters, And
Right.
once it hits the flat iron and it turns to vapor, turns to fumes, that's it. It's all the same. It's back to being all the same. So that's the one fold of it. Now you're going away from formaldehyde to substituting it or to using something in place of it. Well, then you have a common one is glycolic acid. And I think that one is also misunderstood, because when used correctly, it works really, really well. When used incorrectly, it could have a cumulative effect. And that cumulative effect is what turns, hair bad. It's not the fact that you're using glycolic acid helps retain
What is
moisture.
glycolic acid in?
Everything.
Everything as well, because it helps to retain the moisture in the product, and you want moisture. You need that hydration.
What is it more commonly in? I don't even know what glycolic acid's in.
Shampoo,
What's the most
conditioner, leave-in
it really is
treatments.
in all the products. What's it
Everything.
supposed to? And you think that that's going to be one of the chemicals that's going to be banned one day in the future?
No, I think that's going to be the.
No.
Who knows? But it'll be. It's the most common derivative that's being used in place of a driver for formaldehyde in keratin smoothing treatments. So when you hear a keratin smoothing treatment is formaldehyde free, generally speaking, it's being substituted with glycolic acid.
I see.
Okay, but you got to add to that, Eddie, that with these non-formaldehyde products that are going to be coming, like you said, what is it? Science is
Fun and dumb.
Science is dumb. It does
Science
not know
fun,
what
science
you
is dumb.
want it to do. It only knows
That's
what it's
interesting.
supposed to do.
Okay, so with that being said, glycolic acid now over, let's say, hair that has been compromised by color or other chemical treatments or anything, there is going to be some balancing that you're going to have to do in that hair along the line of what? Color, along the line of moisture, along the lines of all of that, right? Am I wrong? Or correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Cumulative effect that I was talking about. You got to be smart
Correct,
with it too.
correct.
Just because it's formaldehyde free doesn't give you full carte blanche to do whatever you want.
So basically, really, with that product or some of these other products that they're going to use in place of it, we're not going to get that one and done day for the client where they could come in, get their color, get their smoothing treatment, get their haircut, get their blow dry, and in 4 hours they're out the door and we don't see them again for 8 weeks. Now, what we're going to have to do is we're going to actually have to go backwards. We're going to have to actually operate the way we used to do it. When our clients used to come in and get their perm, then they would have to come, if they needed their color done, they would have to come back at a minimum of what? A week? Was it a week or
1 or
10 days,
2.
right?
2 weeks,
Some people said a week, some said
Yeah.
2.
14 days.
So then,
technically speaking, it's supposed to
okay.
be 14 days between chemical services.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm old. My dementia's kicking in. I can't remember all those things. But my point being is that now we're actually gonna this is gonna force us as business operators, because we all operate our own business, whether we work for someone else or not. Okay, it's gonna force us now to start really pre-booking our clients. Okay, I did your smoothing treatment today. We got some horizontal movement on your color. You're due for a touch up anyway. I got to book you for whatever the time span it is. You got to come back. You got to we'll do your color. By then it'll be okay to do your color, so that way we're not going to mess with your smoothing system. And then we might as well do your haircut while you're here. And move. This is going to actually move in our favor. The way I look at it is because I'm going to be filling my book up even earlier than I normally do, because you got to get these ladies in, these people in for that second step of their service. So we're actually creating more loyalty from our clients, because it's not, I go to Eddie for my smoothing and then I go to Bernard for my color. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to have them pre-booked, and I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Bernard,
Just
It really is gonna help. Yeah.
You were telling me a couple weeks ago you only need 160 clients to have a full book.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, this is awesome. Then it's that
Right.
much less stressful than having to deal with, who's coming in today and what to do and how to do it.
Yeah,
But
that's why. Go ahead, Joe.
Bernard. I'm sorry. No, but along those lines, that's the same thing. Exactly what I'm saying is now we're actually going to be having to service these clients, where these clients are actually going to have to keep coming back and keep coming back, and we create that loyalty with them. And I think it's amazing. Sorry, Bernard, I didn't even talk over you, bud.
No, that's all right. The more services you can do on a client, more spread out is much better. It goes back to some psychological things too. You ever just end up somewhere and you don't know how you got there, the coffee shop, the grocery store, or maybe even home or work? I mean, you want your salon or your location of getting hair done to be one of those places, because when I want to get coffee, I leave here and I just end up at the right Starbucks or the local coffee shop, and I don't even think about, is there a new one, a different one? Maybe I could try somewhere new. I just go to that place. And so a marketing company early on when I was trying to build my business, I remember him saying, you need to get a client to come to you 3 times, and then they come to you even if their experience isn't great, because now they're just thinking you're the only one that does their hair. You cut their hair, you color their hair. So whatever you got to do to get them to come 3 times, I don't care if it's free, discounted, beg them, remind them, but after the third time they just show up with you. So whenever you can do something that spreads out what you need to do. And so early on I kind of got into the habit of saying all the things during the consultation that I thought they might like or want, or listen to them and all these recommendations. I tried to not do it all in one day. Let's do it over your next few visits. Let's cut you on one visit, color on another, highlighter, perm, or straighten on another, and get them, even if they're closer together, like 4 or 5 days apart, a week apart. I'm too busy to do it all in one day. You don't need to sit here for 3 or 4 hours. And then after that loyalty, like you said, but it's more habit than it is even loyalty, because now even if they have a bad experience and they get a little mad, it's more like a friend or a family member. Now I'm a little mad at you and this is what you need to do to change it, and we can stay together. But if it's the first time and you make them mad, they just go somewhere else. Right. But after you've developed a relationship, you can work through those problems. Go ahead, Eddie. I see you chomping at the bit.
It puts them in what you're referring to as, it puts them into an alpha state. They start showing up without even thinking about it. And and you put it so perfectly.